Welcome, my dear students, in our chapter number 3, Internalizing Externalities in our curriculum Public Finance. Before we present our chapter number 3, first, what do we know by the word externality? Externality equal may be benefit, may be a cost. May be benefit, may be a cost. But why we call externality? We call externality because there is a third party make a benefit or suffer from a cost and the cost or benefit not including in the price. The cost or benefit not included in the market price. So the first point we will talk about, this is definition of externalities. Externalities are the costs or benefits of a market transaction. So, maybe costs, externalities may be costs. This is in case of negative externalities. And maybe benefits. This is in case of positive externality. So, in all types, when we talk about externalities, may be costs. This is in case of negative externalities and may be positive in case of positive externalities. So we can define externalities are costs or benefits of a market transaction, but the very important point, not reflected or included in prices. But what in case if the costs or benefit included or reflected in prices? In this case, we talk about internalities. So when an externality prevails, we talk about the word third party. The third party, this is other than buyer and or seller. Other than buyers or sellers for any product. So, what about the requirements for externality? Number one, the externalities impact may be positive, this is in case of benefit, may be negative in case of costs, and the second condition, the externalities not included or not reflected in the market prices. And we talk about third party. The third party, this is maybe individual or maybe an institution or organization that can make a benefit or suffer from costs. Okay, market prices don't reflect either all the marginal social or all marginal social cost of traded item. But how we can divide it, the externalities? Externalities can be divided into the following. Negative externalities. Negative externalities equal external costs. Negative externalities equal external costs. So, in this case, the third party make or suffering from a negative externality. Suffering from negative externality. And this cost or external cost not included or not reflected in the market price. Give me an example. Suppose your house near to the airport. Your house near the airport. In this case, the noise of aircrafts is very, very harmful for you as an individual. So in this case, this is externality, okay? And this is cost for you as the external negative and negative externality. Another example for the pollution, if your house near to any factory that make a pollution for the environment and negative for environment. So in this case, you talk about harmful and very negative side impact for you on health. What about the other type? Positive externality. Positive externality, in this case, we talk about benefit. benefit. So the third party, may be buyer or seller, make a benefit from the government, for example. But this benefit not included or not reflected on the price. An example, if your house near the fire point or police station. In this case, uh, you make a benefit from your house, like security. If there is any unexpected fire for your house, the short distance between your house and fire point is very benefit for you. Pecuniary externalities. In this case, we talk about monetary. How we can talk about monetary externalities? When the effects of increase or decrease in the prices of a good of existing consumers. So in this case, we talk about the externality make change for the demand or supply. This change reflects on price. For example, suppose your hobby is the photography and you like photography. So increasing the demand or the individuals who like this hobby reflects increasing in demand for devices and installments and machines used on photography, and this is leads to increase on price. Real externalities, we talk about unpriced costs or benefit. Real externalities, unpriced costs or benefits. So what about our next point? We will link between externalities and efficiency. We will link between externalities and efficiency. So, at this point, if you remember the condition for externality, in this case, we talk about the marginal social costs equal marginal social benefit equal price. But now we will add new factor or new variable, which is marginal external costs in case of negative externalities and marginal external benefits in case of positive externalities. So the first, negative externalities. Negative externalities, we talk about our new term, marginal external cost. This is the value of the cost to third parties from the production or consumption of an additional unit of a product. So, what about our new equation? Marginal social costs equal without any externalities. Without any externalities. The condition marginal social costs equal marginal private costs. This is without externalities. But with the negative externalities, we talk about marginal social costs equal marginal private costs, private plus marginal external costs. Marginal private costs plus marginal external costs. So this is will be cleared by the following figure. This figure, okay. What about demand? Demand equal marginal social benefit. This is cleared from chapter number 2. Demand equal marginal social benefit. What about original supply? This curve, original supply equal marginal private cost. So what is the original equilibrium? Original equilibrium at point A. So the quantity equal 5 and the price equal 100. At point A, this is the case without externalities. The case without negative externalities or positive externalities. So we assume that there is a negative externality for this product or for this situation. So any negative externality like the tax. So the supply curve will shift to left. Supply curve will shift to left, and the new supply curve and the new equilibrium at point B. new supply curve, and new equilibrium at point B. So the new supply curve marginal social costs equal marginal private costs plus marginal external costs. What about our new equilibrium at point B? At point B, the price equal 105 and the quantity equal 4.5. So there is decrease in quantity but increase in price. If you want to know the value of negative externality, we can calculate the value of negative externalities by two ways. The first, we will back to our original equilibrium at point A, the quantity equal 5 and price equal 100. We will link the original equilibrium or original quantity 5 with new supply curve, the same quantity 5 but different price at 110. The gap between 100 and 110, this is the value of negative externality. Okay, the same. Next, what about positive externalities? In case of positive externalities, we mentioned that there is a marginal external benefit, MEB, marginal external benefit. And marginal external benefit is the value of the benefit to third parties from an additional unit of production or consumption. So, if you remember our equilibrium condition in case of the efficiency in chapter number 2, the marginal social benefit equal marginal private benefit. This is without externalities. Without externalities, marginal social benefit equal marginal private benefit. But with externalities, we talk about new condition for the equilibrium. So marginal social benefit equal marginal private benefit plus marginal external benefit. The marginal external benefit, this is the externality or positive externality, like our figure. Okay, the S curve, in this case, we talk about marginal social costs, and the original demand curve, we talk about the equilibrium at point U. At point U, the quantity equal 10 and the price equal 25. The quantity equal 10 and the price equal 25. What about the new curve? With the new curve, in this case, we talk about there is a positive externality. In this case, we talk about positive externality. So, positive externality leads to the demand curve shift to right. So, the demand curve shift right to the original point, to a new equilibrium point at point V. At point V, the demand shift to right, so the new demand curve, marginal social benefit equal marginal private benefit plus marginal external benefit. So at point V, the new quantity increased from 10 to 12 and the price increased from 25 to 30. Now we try to measure what about the value of benefit. Okay, the value of benefit we can measure by two ways. Back to our original equilibrium at level 10 units, we will link with new curve of demand to discover the new price. So the new price 45 and the old price 25, so the value of benefit equal 20. The second way, at point V, this is the new quantity, we will link it to the past or the old demand at point H. So with 12 quantity, the price 10 and the new price 30, so the gap's the same, equal 20. This is the positive externality or the value of positive externality. Okay. Now we'll try to talk about how we can internalize the externality. Internalize, so we mention or we focus the price should reflect the costs or benefits. The price should reflect the costs or benefits. What about the actions we can use to internalize the externalities? Number one, corrective taxes. Corrective taxes we will use in case of the negative externality. This is corrective taxes. So the corrective taxes is designed to internalize externality by making sellers of the product pay a fee equal the marginal economic costs per unit. So if you back to our problem or our graph, in this case, this is original supply or marginal private costs, and this is new supply curve in case of negative externalities. So the marginal social costs or supply curve equal marginal private costs plus tax. What about the amount of tax? The amount of tax, the gap between point A and point G, so equal 110. This is the negative externalities, so the producer should talk about how we can compensate this producer by the negative externalities or corrective taxes. What about another point? In this case, we talk about imperfect competition, but the last we talk about perfect competition. With imperfect competition, this is marginal revenue and this is marginal social benefit. So our equilibrium at or with price at point A, this is quantity, and this is point B, this is marginal private costs, this is the original point, when intersection between marginal social benefit and marginal private cost. This is without externalities. With externalities, the MPC plus MEC will shift the supply curve to left. So in this case, the marginal social costs equal marginal private costs plus marginal external costs. So the point F, the difference between point F and point A, this is the value of tax. The next corrective, when we talk about corrective subsidies, subsidies when we talk about benefits. So in this case, internalizing positive externalities. So our first, this is given supply curve, marginal social costs, and this is original demand curve, marginal private benefit. So U, this is the original point of equilibrium with price 25 and quantity 10. Marginal social or marginal externality or positive externality create the demand curve shift to right because this is positive for consumer. So our new demand curve equal marginal private benefit plus positive externality. How we can measure positive externality? Two ways the same with the old point U. What about price 25? We will link with the new price with 45. 45 minus 25 equal 20. Another way to measure the subsidies by link the new point of equilibrium at point V with the old demand curve at point X. So the price 10 and this is the price 30, so the gap equals the same $20. So we can use corrective taxes and corrective subsidies. This is when we talk about private goods. We talk about private goods, so suppose individual A, individual B, individual C, and we will sum with the individual at point E. At point E, this is the equilibrium because the sum of demand curves for individual A plus B plus C and intersect with marginal costs and average costs. Okay, my dear students, this is our lecture today. Thank you for